Hello, welcome to a presentation on climate change. Uh, this is version uh, 1.06006 and it updates every 4 months. Um, one of the main challenges to dealing with climate change as a problem is that it's not one problem but 99 hard problems. How do we best represent the 99 hard problems is a large challenge. It's it, Climate change as a system is like the end game of a 100 by 100 code game. It's uh, it's very complex, it's interconnected, and you cannot easily say this section is the key because it's all very interconnected. Um, the the scale of the problem is a large challenge because it's unhandleable. Um, More accurately, it's a 1,000 by 1,000 or 10,000 by 10,000 Go game. Uh, it's it's very difficult to represent. Uh, Much like how the 2-degree innovation makes measuring climate change easier, uh, can we establish uh, a, a, a language for the 99 difficult problems? Um, and then once we establish that language, can we uh, continuously refine it uh, to make that language better? Um, One of the possible ways that uh, one of the possible languages is the um, sort of software solution to the complexity uh, of a tier list. The tier list has numerous advantages uh, in terms of representing climate change in this fashion. Um, uh, you, and this tier list is available online at this URL. One of the advantages is that you can sequence it. Uh, Energy seems like it's it's the main driver of climate change. So um, you can structure it. Um, so so every one of these ideas can be structured. You can move the battery uh, around. You can nest it and rearrange it. Um, if a, a topic is this is the root of the tree. If a topic is can be bonsaied out or merged down, uh, you move it to the bottom and it gets one side out. Standard size simplest representation. Uh, this a very simple picture is a lot easier to comprehend than a very long sequence of words. Visual prioritize. It's visual. It engages other parts of our mind other than the logic word reading part, and it has colors. You can it's more memorable. Um, Prioritize bonsai. So since energy is a you can determine the degree of prioritization. Since energy and batteries are really important, then we can allocate resources more efficiently towards that area. And since removal and sunshade are currently not viable, we can allocate resources away from that. Uh, Show, not tell, add more. Uh, this shows the uh, the problem and does not spend time telling it to you. It makes the problem more real. And as an added benefit, uh, uh, you can zoom in and zoom out. Uh, you can essentially see the entire problem as you can see the entire market. You can zoom out, sort of zoom all the way out and see the entire problem. Uh, Momentum build. This this sort of categorization does not have to be a tier list. You can change it to like 2020 and you can change it to a timeline if you want to. So start with the easiest things that will build momentum to the slightly more difficult things, and at the bottom you group it. You group the most difficult, most intractable things. Uh, so this representation is is uh, better than this representation because well, this is a complement to this representation because some of the some of the things are very difficult to comprehend, like uh, like yeah, some of the technical things are very difficult to comprehend. Uh, and also, it's since you can zoom in and out like this, uh, a mature tier list can hold hundreds and even thousands of elements. Um, so uh, to review some of the sort of components of this tier list. Energy seems to be a very uh, important topic. Also, you can nest in and out. So for forest, if you double click on forest, there would be like a new tier list. And if you double click on paper, you will get another new tier list that and if you like nest down enough levels, you get actionable policy decisions that can uh, uh, make an impact. Uh, and also, yeah, you you can sort of integrate this as a tree map. So the policy decisions. So once you weigh the policy decisions, you can sort of pass up a number that says this is these policies that has the most impact but the least pain. We can do them now, and you can weigh them with an index. You can see the entire board. This is two exactly the same, but sort of phone apps, but you can see a lot more here because you zoomed out. Transportation and battery are all subsets of energy, but since they contribute such a large amount to the problem, they are moved to the root tier list. Forests, they are carbon sink uh, and we can analyze how we can preserve our forests and perhaps add new forests. Industry, meat is another large one. Can we move a portion of our meat consumption to lab grown meats? Consumption, the amount of consumption has increased by the total resource consumption has increased by perhaps 1.5 times what it was a couple of decades ago. Virtualization, this ties towards the consumption. Sunshade, can we sort of have a canon, a sort of a canon, and I think it was magnetic quench cannon that launches satellites that provides the sunshade, especially in the Arctic regions. Games models. Can we integrate this as a model, as a sort of interactive model, like the tree map that sort of ties the real world data? Removal Currently, it's unfeasible, but perhaps when we develop fusion and other next-generation technologies, it will become viable. Variations on system components. So for healthcare, you can divide the pie into different component types. Can we do the same with uh, uh, climate change? We can isolate what key component can be tackled first. We can build momentum and identify a sequence. Show it, don't tell it. When you um when you tell something, it's to a certain extent not real enough. So you, when you show it, it's sort of instantaneous, and it doesn't take 20 minutes to describe the thing, and and it has numerous benefits. Population growth. How can we modulate population growth and talent? Where where is um our talent going? Talent arguably can be placed on the top tier because that's what drives the change. Uh, when you have so the next element, the next section is tree maps. Can we have a carbon tree map? This is a tree map of the market cap of the entire market. So can we have a carbon tree map? This is a tree map of a computer sort of file system. You can see the small files as well as you can see the large files. If you zoom in, move the market and zoom in, you can see the small files. Can we integrate the tree map with an additional layer of incentives? So here is the baseline economic incentive. China added a social credit layer on top of the baseline incentive. So it's out of the box. It's not an overhaul. It does not replace the baseline, but it's an improvement layer. And this is very nice for the uh, for the uh, public private private cost issue because it starts to address the tragedy of the commons where you sort of uh, you cut down a tree and the public bears the most of the cost. Also, can we integrate the tree map um, with the social credit system? So here is the energy consumption by sector. If we take that sector of domestic sort of energy usage, we apply it to a tree map, we can see that sort of air conditioning takes the most energy. So can we sort of align much of the social credit align the social credits layer of rewards to the largest parts of the tree map. Currently, most of the talent most of uh, the talent is going into phone games. So this these sort of 50 or so phone games are the phone games that's currently available on the market today. So there's thousands and thousands of people, sort of very smart people, uh, sort of uh, who are working on the phone games. Uh, and can we sort of, via social credit system, redirect some of that talent to the less glamorous, less exciting, uh, much more boring job of improving air, air conditioning or improving battery technology or improving the stuff that really needs improving. Uh, the next section is plasticity. Uh, Topics about government and law are beyond my circle of competence, or far beyond my circle of competence. Uh, I'm not trained and have no experience on this in the sector, but there's some merit to having a non-expert review and contribute. It simplifies the problem, it provides a fresh look and views the problem with a plastic mindset. Um, Here's a quote by Orrin Hatch: "If I'm not boring, then I'm not doing my job well." Scientific experts uh, have 10 years of training and 40 years of rigorous work in their fields. Uh, from first-hand experience as a biologist, it is very boring and tedious work. Uh, so once you work so long in the field, everything becomes set in place. Uh, you're resistant to change. So uh, and that saps a plastic mindset. Uh, as a sort of a comparison, we can compare the actions of FDRs and Hoovers. Hoover responded to the large problem uh, by saying everything is set in stone, uh, nothing is plastic, but FDR responded to the problem by saying maybe it's not necessarily everything is plastic, but some things are plastic, and we we can sort of move some things around. We can debate and move some things around. But with this, it sort of uh, can have a problem with the momentum. Uh, and we uh, we can see FDR's Supreme Court enlargement plan as too plastic. So a practical solution would be to buy a cute pet for members of the IPCC board. The next section is political capital. Hypothetically, every new administration gets $1,000. A modern new administration gets $1,000 of political capital to work with. Uh, the amount of large policies that an administration can buy is uh, uh, reduced and perhaps drastically reduced. The amount of initial political capital is also reduced. So if we compare FDR, who had 100,000 to work with the 100 with the $1,000, we have a sort of a sense of a scale. Uh, uh, and there are numerous reasons for this reduction in political capital: increased societal complexity, mature and numerous special interests, acceleration of the income gap, short-termism, myopia. This reduction is not all bad because studies have shown that sort of some private sector uh, uh, can do better than the public sector. It prevents government overreach. But currently, we live in a time where the rapid acceleration of technological problems require the $100,000 that FDR had. So, how would the historical reformers like Diocletian tackle this large problem? So, how 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 did they tackle it? How do we sort of have more political capital to deal with these challenges? Much like Andrew Yang suggested that we establish a ministry of attention, attention economy. Perhaps we can start a ministry of political capital where some of the where it counterbalances some of the reduction, and this reduction is still going on because the special interests are still growing. Societal complexity and income gap and myopia are still sort of increasing. Have we reached peak complexity for the current version of government? Hank Paulson, who was the Treasury Secretary, said that it's very difficult to implement these large policy changes. It seems as a novice that that the risk reward for large policies is skewed. There's a strong incentive to preserve the status quo. The delayed pro- the delayed result of the positive influences and the sort of large interconnected complexity almost certainly result in sort of unintended harm and unintended large resistance. One option is to upgrade the Titanic. USAFacts.org condenses an annual report that provides the numbers, the key numbers of the government, like a CEO would, and the CEO is made the stakeholder in this in this by having the CEO sign off on the annual report. What other best private sector practices can be grafted onto the current government? Something like pay for performance stock options. Even so, even sort of a token reward sort of affects our sort of brain's dopamine reward center like a large reward does. So, especially in terms of agile self-reorganization, can we invest the middle-level managers of the government with more autonomy and rewards, and not make them pass the buck to the next tier? And also this idea of energy per capita. If we measure energy and consumption, there's a 50% increase, around a 50% increase, perhaps more. So can we reduce this sort of number by introducing virtualization or other policies? The last section is pull, not push. Pull rather than push. One of the reporters covering climate change summed up the problem as climate change as he's reporting the same dull, grim story with every sort of story he publishes. And in a time where the boredom tolerance index is sharply declining, where everyone looks for novel entertainment, this is a large detriment and a large obstacle. Everyone just reflexively avoid this sort of aspect, and it's a PR marketing challenge. How do you sell the unsellable? How do we build cultural products by penetrating the collective consciousness? How do we build a cultural phenomenon? And one of the examples of a cultural phenomenon is Final Fantasy VII. It's a Japanese game that shows that engages the use with story, music, and interactivity. This YouTube video and personal experience shows that even 20 years later, after playing that game, you remember that game so vividly. And it is about how there's a live stream, which is the source of all things flowing under the earth, and we're siphoning it out for personal self-aggrandizement. It it shows the situation, and it makes the abstract more real. This is a Google Trends chart of how the public that reflects public interest. NASA is a lot more interesting than climate change. Uh, Tangents. How can we how can we study large, innovative, systematic change? Uh, I looked through some of the books, and there is no field, there's no scholarly field about this topic, and we're undergoing a period of great acceleration. Uh, it only takes 10 minutes to install OBS and start your own presentation about climate change. Rewatching other updated presentations provides fresh new perspectives and facts. Watching, and you can download this presentation in the description. Watching and producing presentations makes you a branching loci for change that educates you and those around you. Make a hobby of climate change, and thousands of presentations will result in the complex emergence of solutions. Every repetition contributes, every presentation contributes, every presentation has a possibility of noticing something new, something different. Uh, you're, uh, uh, this presentation and video is placed in the public domain, and I'm interested in your take on the problem. Uh, Thank you very much, and have a good day.